Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of the FHPL Librari-ANTICS podcast. I'm Ashanti. I'm here with Allison from our Teen Services Department, and today we're going to get into all things FHPL. Starting with what's been going on at the library, we've been hosting a variety of events this month, including the Single Tax Lecture Series, and we've also begun to kick off our Travelogue series. So the Single Tax Corporation puts on this series every year for 2026. It's a 4-part program with speakers highlighting things like public safety, environmental stewardship, historic preservation, and of course, community service. This month, we had the pleasure of hosting Fairhope Police Chief Stephanie Hollinghead, who talked about community policing trends, Narcan training, the Citizens Police Academy, and a summer camp that they host for middle schoolers. Lectures are held from 6 to 7 p.m. on the third Tuesday of each month from January until April. If you're interested in attending, please check our website to find your next session. As previously stated, we also kicked off our Travelogue series where we invite library patrons and staff to share stories from their latest trips. Our first session was led by Gil Wright, who took us to Spain, walking the Camino de Santiago, also known as the Way of St. James. Speaking of dates, our biggest annual fundraiser, Chocolate and Champagne, hosted by the Friends of the Fairhope Public Library. Our friends do a lot for us in terms of grants, scholarships, etc. And Allison, I think you'll be able to tell us a little more about how the Friends have impacted you guys this year.
For sure. Our new teen space upstairs here now, that was in the long-term planning for the library, but we needed to raise the money for it. We had a little bump in the road with the pandemic, but the Friends and of course other donors, but mainly the Friends of the Fairhope Public Library are the people who got the money together for us to have our new teen space. It's been a welcome addition to our library ecosystem, as it were, but also the community as a whole. We're just so grateful to be able to provide an environment for teens, young people, where they feel free to come in and hang out, gather, study, just be themselves. Especially now, in a time in our history and in the history of our society where we have fewer and fewer of what they call third spaces.
Yeah,
I'm sure
absolutely.
You've heard of third spaces.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for the viewers at home, third spaces are actually informal public spaces where people can linger. Actually, in a February 2025 article for the New York Times titled, "Where Have All the Third Spaces Gone?" Efrat Levini explains the concept of the third space, a term which was coined in 1989 by urban sociologist Ray Oldenburg.
Why is it a third space? What are the first two spaces? Well, the first space is your home, your house, where you live with your family and everything. Your occupation is your second place. Usually that's a job. Most people have jobs. Teens don't. Of course, teens and kids go to school. That's their second place. Ideally, a third space is a place where you're comfortable. You can hang out with people, but it's not necessarily your family. It's your friends and other people in the community. For most adults, this is not a big deal. You can say, hey, let's go out, have a meal, go for a drink, let's go to a show, whatever. Of course, teens don't always have that freedom. Either financially, they don't have money to do stuff. They obviously can't go to bars. They don't even always have transportation. The transportation is up to parents or an older sibling or something. When I was a kid, I grew up in a big town, and where we hung out was either the local mall, because it was the 80s, or we went to the local university, went to the student union. Those were perfect third places for us. They were free. We didn't necessarily have to spend money there. If we could get over there, and our parents often would drop us off there and we'd congregate together. So those were ideal third spaces. But we're here in Fairhope. We don't have a mall. We do have the pier. We have some parks. And of course, we have the library.
So why are these third spaces so important, which is a question I'm sure a lot of people ask when we are developing these places for people to hang out. But leisure is critical in fostering a community that will be close and a community that will support one another and support connection.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They need more than just being online with their friends. Of course they text. Of course they're on Discord or TikTok and Instagram, and they talk to each other through games and things, but they need to be face to face with each other too. So yeah, it's important to have that place where they can make the connection in their community. Our teens, they're at school all day during school year, but they don't really socialize at school, but it's not really why they're there. They're there to listen to their teachers, which I understand they sometimes actually do. But the point is they don't socialize up there. A lot of people just look at teens and they just think, why are those kids doing that? But I guarantee anybody who has ever been a teen, we all did that dumb stuff. We all did it. I think it's just part of growing up. And now we have a place up here in the library on the top floor with doors. And if they get a little bit too rambunctious, we can just close those doors and they are fine. We have rarely had a time when we've had kids having fun cutting up and other kids studying we had to shush them. So it's wonderful to have that space up there for them.
Yeah, I feel like every time I've been in teen space, you have kids like they're playing cards or like they're on the computers playing some sort of like multiplayer game. And when I think back to when I was a teenager, when I think back to that time, I'm just so grateful that I had adults in my life and that I had spaces where I could linger and just be myself and really have that outlet.
Yeah.
And I know you guys have a lot of events that support that idea as well.
So we've had a lot of different programs since we moved up there, programs we were not able to have downstairs because we didn't have the space for them. We've been able to have programs almost every day in the summertime. So just, is the space working as a third space for teens? It definitely is. On March 1st, 2025, that's when the teen space opened. We had about 75 to 90 people, most of them local teens, who came in and formed a line from the old teen space all the way up the reading room, up the stairs to the new space. And we handed the books back and forth like a fireman's brigade to get them all up. There was over 4,000 books, some like 4,300 books. So we got them all up there in one day in I think it took us about 4.5 hours. Got them all up there, and there were kids who were like, wow, I just came here to get some volunteer hours. I didn't even know we were doing this upstairs. Those guys have come back. They trickle in here and there. They know it's there and they use it. Just all the different things we do, crafts, gaming, discussion groups, writing groups, all these different little things that we do up there. Our numbers jumped from summer 2024 to the summer of 2025 by 155% for attendance in the teen space, in
That's
the teen
awesome.
Programs. So they definitely know it's there. There's still a kid or two every week or so who comes in and says, oh, I didn't know this was up here, this is so cool. So, the word is definitely spreading, trickling out through the neighborhoods and through the schools and the communities, but it's definitely working. It's a great place for the kids.
That is their third space.
It's their space.
I think that's great that they have a teen advisory board, like giving them that type of autonomy. You guys are setting a great example for the other libraries and for a lot of the teens in the community. And knowing that libraries can be so much more than just somewhere you go to check out a book. They contain multitudes, and you can do a lot with the book, including turn it into a movie, which is something that has been happening a lot. I know that's kind of maybe a controversial topic almost, but
it's definitely a big topic.
Yes,
it's a big topic with the
topic.
teens as much as with adults.
Wow. The #1 best-selling novel in the United States right now is Housemaid by Frida McFadden. But it also has a live action counterpart that was released in theaters fairly recently. And it's ranked number 25 in domestic box office films, which is a trend that we're seeing more and more of. It's the story of a woman named Millie who is an ex-con trying to make a fresh start as a housemaid for a wealthy family, but their seemingly perfect life kind of hides something darker. I think it's more of a thriller, which I think is also the current trend. People want to be surprised. People want to be surprised lately. And if this is your type of thriller, make sure you see if it's available for checkout via the FHPL online catalog, because that one has been really popular. Interestingly enough, the book actually came out in April of 2022.
Really?
So, yeah.
I didn't realize it was that old. Wow.
Yeah, so it's never too late to tell a story is the main thing that I'm getting from that. Also, the #1 movie on Netflix right now, People We Meet on Vacation. So that one is also based off of a book that came out in 2021, actually, a romance novel by Emily Henry. I don't know if that's available at our library, but you guys can definitely go and check it out. And I may check that one out myself. Do you have a favorite page to screen adaptation? Or least favorite?
I only have least favorites.
Only least favorites. That's
no. You know,
understandable.
my favorite, I think, is it's an old one, but Howl's Moving Castle, which was a book by Diana Wynne Jones. The book and the movie are, you can tell it's based on the same people and everything, but the movie has simplified it so much, which always is what we have happen because you can't put everything in the movie, and we understand that. Just this week, I had a conversation with one of the teens talking about book to movie, and she brought up Howl's Moving Castle, and I told her how I felt about it. I said, yeah, I love Howl's Moving Castle, and it's one of those few times where I like the book and the movie. They're very different, but I like them both. And she pointed out to me, she said it felt like the book was the point of view of Sophie, the main female character, and the movie was more the point of view of Howl, the main male character. And she told me that, and it blew my mind.
Interesting.
So that's, I think that's my favorite book to movie adaptation of all the millions out there.
Yeah, I like Studio Ghibli myself. I'm a big fan of Ponyo. That's one of my childhood favorites.
Ponyo loves him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ponyo's definitely a good one.
And what I appreciate about Howl's Moving Castle, like you said, is how the book and movie, like while the adaptations, while they are different, they do provide like another dimension to the story, and I can really appreciate something like that.
Yeah.
Because I know people complain a lot, like, oh, this is different, this has been tweaked, but I guess I'm a big proponent of giving things a chance and letting media stand on its own, even if it is derived from something else.
Well, sure, and you have to remember that a director making a movie is an artist just as much
Absolutely.
as the writer writing a book, and that this is their interpretation of this raw material that we all love. This is their version of it. If you or I made that movie, it would look a lot different if we even had those skills.
Yeah, very
but
true.
that's, you gotta look at it that way.
I don't know if I have a favorite per se adaptation. The first one that's coming to my mind is The Hunger Games, which I read when I was in maybe 5th grade. When
I've
I
heard
was
that
younger,
from the
watching
kids.
them, comparing them to the book, seeing how they're able to add to the story to give it more layers. And also I think with it being a young adult novel and taking on those mature themes is really interesting to see, especially looking back as an adult as well.
Well, and that's what kids want out of literature. So when you get these books that have, this young person, male or female, saving the world, it's sort of a fantasy that they're living out, because we've been telling them their whole lives, you're going to grow up, you're going to do this, you're going to be great, you're going to get a job, you're going to whatever. And that's a lot when the things that kids internalize from what we say to them. So when they read this, even though this is a dystopian novel in a future that doesn't exist, it's still this kid doing this impossible thing. So if you read that and you see what Katniss accomplishes in there, then you think college might not be so hard.
Yeah.
So and they're not even thinking that consciously. But that's why they love those stories, I think.
And we also have a club that meets monthly, Consanguinity. So if you're looking for a club that does explore those differentiations between television, film, and literature, make sure you check that group out. We have their schedule posted on our calendar, and they do different topics each month. So if that's something you're interested in, I would definitely recommend it for meeting some like minds.
Yes, it's really fun to go to a consanguinity for a movie or a book that you love, and then you hear all these other opinions about it, and some are right with you there, and others you're like, whoa, I never thought of that. So yeah, consanguinity can be really fun.
Speaking of happenings at Fairhope Public Library, something I do want to get into is digital library access. I know this has been kind of a point of contention. I know with some of our patrons kind of curious about what that process takes and what exactly it means for a book to even be available using our e-resources. So I think I'd like to break that down for a second. So Libby is just one of our many online resources that we offer. It's a free service that allows FHPL patrons to borrow ebooks, audiobooks, podcasts, etc. But something people may not know is that while libraries are responsible for acquiring these digital titles, it's actually necessary for them to purchase each individual title that they'd like to acquire. So sometimes I know people wonder, well, if we have this book digitally, why can't we give it to multiple patrons? It's because they are only allowed to acquire one title at a time. So that's what that availability depends on. What's coming up recently with the popularity of digital library access is how can we make it more accessible and more affordable to everyone involved. Libby alone saw a 17% increase in its usage over this past year in 2025. So it is something that I think is coming more into public conscious, like how do these resources work and how can I get the most out of my library? And what I will say is that this digital world that we're living in right now creates an opportunity for people to access information and resources that they never have been before. And what we do by building up this digital catalog is something that the American Library Association refers to as closing the digital divide, which is caused by maybe a lack of access to internet, a lack of wireless connection, or just a lack of not having those skills necessary to be able to access a catalog like that. So by connecting users to global information and networks that they wouldn't have access to, we have a really important duty in keeping that library up and in acquiring these titles. And also our patrons have a responsibility to use those resources, and they are available to everyone via our website.
Yeah. Well, Ashanti, anybody who's coming to Chocolate and Champagne, the teens, of course, they're not going to be there, but they're behind the scenes. They're going to be doing some of the art backdrops and things.
Oh, wow.
So when people come, they'll be able to see that. That's them keeping involved and everything.
I like that they're a part of it.
They definitely feel like this is their home, and they want to get back to it. They feel like they own this library the way they own their high school. You see it when they come in, the way they act about this library. Yeah.
That's wonderful. The children are our future.
They're good kids. I mean, library kids are the best kids anyway.
So true.
But
as a former library kid.
Same, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these are good kids. They're good. They give me hope.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Allison, so much for sitting down and talking to me and for letting me know about the ins and outs of teen services and what you guys are really getting up to.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Come back on anytime.
Alrighty.
Once again, thank you all for listening to this episode of Library Antics, brought to you by the Fairhope Public Library. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and check out our socials.